In a forgotten corner of the world where hope seemed lost, a genius engineer named Michael was quietly struggling to rebuild his life after devastating personal losses. Living on the streets and using his remarkable skills to survive, his life was about to change forever when he encountered none other than Elon Musk. What unfolds next is a journey of rediscovery, second chances, and a reminder that sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come from the most unexpected places. You won't want to miss this. Before we dive into today's incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories to life. In a dilapidated industrial area where time seemed to stand still, Michael, a black man in his mid-40s, bent over an old electric vehicle. The setting sun bathed the rusted roofs in a soft golden hue, casting long shadows over the abandoned charging stations that once stood as symbols of a brighter future. The air was thick with the smell of oil and metal, mingling with dust that seemed to have settled for decades. Michael, dressed in a frayed jacket and shoes with soles peeling off, worked tirelessly, disassembling and adjusting the vehicle's components with a calm, practiced precision. His hands, calloused from years of manual labor, moved deftly as he worked on what seemed like an impossible task, a charging station long forgotten by most. Nearby, an elderly woman stood, her eyes filled with concern as she watched Michael's hands move with expertise. She knew he was her only hope. "Your car needs more charge to go further," Michael said in a deep, steady voice, breaking the silence. "I'll try fixing that charging station over there," he added, pointing to a nearby charging station whose peeling paint and tangled wires were a stark testament to years of neglect. With a small toolbox in hand, Michael made his way to the charging station, sitting on the dusty concrete floor. His fingers, though weary and aged, worked with deliberate care, reconnecting frayed wires. His movements seemed to breathe life into a system that had been abandoned long ago, yet still held a flicker of potential. As he worked, his eyes, tired but sharp, betrayed a hint of determination. Though years of hardship had etched wrinkles into his face, there was still a glimmer of hope in his gaze, something that even he might not fully understand. It was then that a sleek, smooth hum of a car engine broke the silence. A Tesla Model X glided into the industrial area, its polished exterior reflecting the last rays of the setting sun. The car came to a soft stop not far from Michael. The door opened, and out stepped none other than Elon Musk. He paused for a moment, his gaze fixed on Michael, unable to look away. From a distance, Michael continued to work, seemingly unaware of the man observing him. But Elon could not help but notice the unusual intensity with which Michael worked. There was something about the way this man, armed only with basic tools, managed to repair the charging station that spoke volumes. It was more than just a fix. It was a demonstration of skill, ingenuity, and determination. As the last of the sunlight slipped below the horizon, the charging station flickered to life. The dull buzz of the machines now had a new rhythm, one that seemed smoother and more reliable than even some of the newest Tesla stations. Elon stepped closer, drawn by a mix of curiosity and admiration. "Hello," Elon called out gently, his voice friendly yet brimming with interest. "I noticed you're fixing this charging station. How did you manage to get it working again?" Michael didn't look up. His hands never faltered as he tightened a bolt. "Just a temporary fix," he replied, his voice low and steady. "A few cables were damaged. I used some scraps I found nearby." He didn't offer more than that, and the guarded expression in his eyes revealed an underlying wariness, as if he was accustomed to people offering only cursory glances and fleeting interest. But Elon wasn't just anyone. His gaze lingered on the station, his mind racing as he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. "It's more than just a patch-up," he said, his voice growing more intrigued. "This system is running more smoothly now than some of Tesla's newest charging stations." For the first time, Michael paused. His hands stilled, and his eyes, weary and cautious, lifted to meet Elon's. The briefest moment of silence passed between them, as if an invisible understanding was beginning to form, a glimmer of something much larger than the task at hand. Michael's eyes, filled with something akin to recognition, met Elon's. In that fleeting instant, there was a sense that something had shifted. Something was about to happen that neither of them could predict. something that would change the course of both their lives. As the fading light of day bathed the industrial area in its last hues of orange, the air grew still. Elon stood there, studying Michael, sensing that there was more to the man than met the eye. His curiosity deepened as he saw the quiet resilience that radiated from Michael, even in the face of hardship. "You've worked in this field before, haven't you?" Elon asked, his voice gentle but probing. "Not everyone would know how to fix a charging station like this." Michael flinched slightly at the question, his focus momentarily disrupted. He quickly regained his composure, though, and answered in a voice thick with untold stories. "I've done a lot of things," he said, his words carrying the weight of years of lost dreams and unspoken pain. His voice was rough, like someone trying to speak through years of silence. Elon, sensing that Michael wasn't ready to share everything, sat down beside him. "What you just did here," he said, his tone more reflective now, "isn't just a repair, it's ingenuity. I've never seen anyone do something like this with just basic tools." Michael's eyes seemed to darken for a moment as his hands rested on the concrete beside him. There was something in his eyes, something more than the weariness of age or the struggle of the present, that hinted at a story, a past that defined him in ways even he struggled to comprehend. "I used to be the lead engineer at an electric car company," Michael said after a long pause, his voice heavy with memories. "I dedicated my life to developing technologies I believed would change the world." His voice faltered slightly. "But then everything fell apart. A car accident, my wife, my 2 children. They were all taken from me in an instant." Elon sat still, his gaze unwavering. He didn't interrupt. He didn't try to fill the silence with words. Instead, he gave Michael the space to share what he needed to. Michael's face was lined with grief as he continued. "After the accident, I quit my job. I left my home. I wandered from place to place, trying to outrun the pain. But no matter where I went, it followed me." Elon, deeply moved by the pain in Michael's words, finally spoke, his voice filled with a quiet empathy. "Michael, I can't imagine the pain you've endured, but I see something in you, something you may not even recognize in yourself. These hands," he said, looking at Michael's weathered, calloused palms, "they still carry the spark you once had. You haven't lost it." Michael let out a dry laugh, a sound that carried the weight of years spent struggling to keep going. "A spark?" he echoed, his voice brittle. "I'm not even sure I have anything left to hold on to." Elon, unwavering, leaned forward, his gaze steady. "You are not just your past, Michael. You still have the ability. You still have the potential." He paused, giving Michael a moment to absorb the words. "I see it clearer than anything else, and I think it's time you saw it too." There was a long silence, one that was almost tangible, as the weight of Elon's words settled into the air. Michael didn't respond immediately. But there was something in his eyes now, a flicker of something that hadn't been there before. A spark of hope, faint but unmistakable, began to stir within him. As the last traces of daylight disappeared, Michael slowly lowered his gaze to his hands. The hands that had once created powerful, modern machines, now relegated to fixing discarded scraps. But Elon's words still echoed in his mind, like a quiet breeze reigniting a long-extinguished flame. Elon rose to his feet, his expression determined yet kind. "Michael," he began, his voice softer now but filled with a quiet strength. "Do you know something? No one in this world can escape loss. But it's how we face it that defines who we are." Michael didn't look up, but his hands tightened around the screwdriver as if battling an internal struggle. Finally, after a long exhale, he spoke, his voice raw and full of emotion. "I used to believe I could change the world," he said quietly. "But now, I'm not even sure I can fix myself." Elon nodded, understanding the depth of Michael's pain, but he didn't try to force a solution. Instead, he bent down, picked up a loose piece of wiring from the ground, and handed it to Michael. "We don't need to fix everything all at once," he said gently. "Sometimes we just need to start with the smallest things." Michael looked up at him, the weight of the words settling over him. Elon gestured toward a nearby charging station that still had issues, a critical fault that even Tesla's top engineers had failed to solve. "Take a look at this one," Elon said, his voice warm but firm. "No pressure. Just do what you do best." There was hesitation in Michael's eyes, but something within him shifted. He wasn't sure if he could do it, but the idea of reclaiming the ability to create, to solve problems, sparked something deep inside him. With a slow nod, he agreed. All right, but no promises. Elon's smile was reassuring, his gaze confident. You don't need to promise anything. Just do what you've always done best. And with that, Michael walked toward the faulty charging station. As his hands began to work, the rhythm of his past, the rhythm of someone who had once built groundbreaking technologies, came back to him. The world around him seemed to disappear as his focus sharpened. Every movement felt natural, familiar. After just 30 minutes, Michael stepped back, wiped the sweat from his brow, and turned to Elon. The system has a conflict in the control circuit, he said. I've temporarily fixed it, but it'll need replacement parts to work long term. Elon's eyes gleamed with pride. You just did something my team has been struggling with for weeks, Michael. I told you your talent was still there. You just needed the chance to rediscover it. For the first time in years, Michael felt something he hadn't experienced in a long while, a sense of purpose, of capability. He wasn't just getting through the day anymore. He was starting to believe that he could be more than what his past had made him. In that moment, a new chapter began for Michael, one that no longer hinged on survival, but on rebirth. The moon hung high in the sky, casting a pale light over the industrial wasteland that had once been a symbol of progress. Michael wiped his hands on a rag, feeling the cool air of the evening settling in as the last of the day's tension faded away. The temporary fix he'd made to the charging station wasn't perfect, but it had been enough to impress Elon Musk. Elon had never been one to underestimate the power of human potential, and there was something about Michael's quiet determination, his willingness to fight through adversity, that intrigued him. He had seen brilliance in Michael, but it wasn't just about the technical skill. There was something raw, something compelling about the man's spirit. As the cool night air swirled around them, Elon turned to Michael, his gaze unwavering. I think you've proven something tonight, Michael, Elon said, his voice steady but filled with conviction. You've shown me that you're not just a man who repairs things. You're someone who can create something new, something that hasn't been done before. Michael looked up at him, his heart beating faster. He had not expected praise, let alone this kind of recognition. For so long, his life had been reduced to survival, to fixing broken machines, to wandering from place to place in search of meaning. But Elon's words were different. They stirred something inside him that he had thought was long gone. I don't know if I'm the man you think I am, Michael said quietly, his voice tinged with uncertainty. I haven't had the chance to do anything important in years. Elon smiled, his eyes glinting with purpose. I've seen people who are capable of great things, but sometimes they just need the right push. And that's why I'm here, Michael. I want you to work with me. I want you to join Tesla, not as a technician, but as someone who can lead the next great innovation in electric mobility. Michael's heart skipped a beat. Tesla, the company that had once been the beacon of innovation, a company that had changed the course of history in terms of clean energy. And now, they wanted him? His mind raced as he tried to process the offer. Why me? Michael asked, his voice thick with disbelief. There are 1,000 engineers out there who are more qualified than I am. Elon stepped closer, his gaze fixed on Michael with intensity. Because you're more than just a technician. You have something they don't. A way of seeing things differently. A way of fixing problems that no one else has thought of. You're the kind of person who doesn't just build what's been imagined. You build what hasn't been imagined yet. And that's exactly what Tesla needs right now. The weight of Elon's words hung heavy in the air, and for the first time in years, Michael felt something inside him stir, a flicker of hope, of possibility. It was a strange feeling, one that he hadn't allowed himself to experience since the accident. But as he looked at Elon, he knew that this could be the turning point he'd been waiting for. I don't know what to say, Michael whispered. Elon smiled warmly, placing a hand on his shoulder. You don't have to say anything yet. Just think about it. I'm offering you the chance to rebuild yourself, to rebuild something that can change the world. All you have to do is decide if you're ready. As Michael stared at the ground, trying to grasp the enormity of the decision, he felt something shift inside him. He had spent years running from the pain of his past, trying to find some sense of redemption. But now, it wasn't just about survival. It was about creating something new, something that could honor his lost family, something that could give him purpose once again. He looked up at Elon, his eyes clear. "I'll do it. I'll join Tesla." Elon's smile widened. "I knew you would." The next few weeks felt like a whirlwind for Michael. The transition from his quiet, isolated life to working alongside the brightest minds at Tesla was nothing short of overwhelming. But as he walked through the sleek, cutting-edge halls of Tesla's headquarters, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was finally where he was meant to be. The team welcomed him with open arms, impressed by his ability to solve complex problems with an ease that most engineers spent years striving for. Michael quickly became a cornerstone of Tesla's R&D department, his ideas sparking discussions that led to new projects and breakthroughs. He felt like he was rediscovering a part of himself he had long buried, and with each new challenge, he found a renewed sense of purpose. But it wasn't just the technical side of the job that kept him engaged. It was the feeling of community, the sense of being part of something larger than himself. Elon's faith in him had opened a door he never thought would be possible. And for the first time in years, Michael felt truly alive. One evening, as he stayed late at the office, working on a new design for a next-generation battery system, Elon stopped by his desk. The dim light from the screens flickered in the background as Elon leaned against the wall, his arms crossed. "You're doing great work, Michael," he said, his tone appreciative but serious. "But I want to talk to you about something else." Michael looked up from his screen, his brow furrowed in curiosity. "What's on your mind?" Elon took a deep breath, his gaze becoming more intense. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said when you first came here, about how you haven't had the chance to do anything important in years. And I get that. I really do. But I want to help you find something else. Something that can give you real closure. Something that can honor your wife and kids." Michael's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" Elon leaned forward slightly, his voice softer now. "I know you've been carrying a lot of pain, but what if you could build something that could change the world and make sure that your family's legacy lives on? Something that would not only bring you redemption, but also make sure they're remembered." Michael's mind raced as Elon's words sank in. He had never considered the idea of creating something in his family's name, something that could serve as a living tribute to their memory. "What did you have in mind?" Michael asked, his voice barely a whisper. Elon smiled, a glint of excitement in his eyes. "I'm talking about developing a new kind of electric vehicle, one that combines cutting-edge technology with a sense of compassion, a vehicle that can be made affordable for those who have been left behind. I want you to lead the project. I want you to create a legacy that will live on far beyond any technology we've developed so far." Michael felt a wave of emotion wash over him. It was as if the weight he had been carrying for years had suddenly lifted. The idea of creating something for his family, something that could change the lives of others, made his heart swell with pride. This was no longer just about fixing broken things. It was about building a future where his family's memory would live on through the work he did. "I'm in," Michael said, his voice firm, filled with conviction. "Let's do it." Elon extended his hand, a smile crossing his face. "Welcome to the future, Michael." And with that, Michael knew that his journey had come full circle. He wasn't just rebuilding charging stations or fixing broken systems anymore. He was building something that would honor his past while shaping a brighter future for others. He had found his redemption. He had found his purpose. As the months passed, Michael's project gained momentum. The electric vehicle he and his team were developing wasn't just another car. It was a testament to innovation, compassion, and the human spirit. Designed with sustainability and accessibility in mind, the vehicle was meant to bridge the gap between the wealthy and the underserved communities, offering clean energy at an affordable price. The project, named after Michael's late wife and children, began to gain attention. Investors took notice, and soon, the vehicle was being hailed as the next major leap forward in green technology. The impact it had on communities was profound, and Michael's name was being recognized worldwide for his work. But for Michael, the greatest reward wasn't the accolades or the success. It was the feeling that he had finally found a way to honor the memory of his family. Every time he saw the vehicle roll off the production line, he thought of them, his wife, his children, and the life they had shared. It was a legacy he could be proud of. And as he stood at the launch event for the vehicle, surrounded by applause and cheers, Michael knew one thing for certain. He had found the redemption he had been seeking all along, not just for himself, but for his family as well. As the electric vehicle project continued to gain traction, so did the mounting pressures. The team had reached critical milestones, but the road to final production was anything but smooth. There were moments of triumph, followed by setbacks that seemed to stretch the limits of what they could endure. Still, Michael stood resolute, determined to see this project through to the end, for his family and for the future they had dreamed of together. However, as the project began to take off, Michael started to feel the weight of expectations, both from within Tesla and from external investors. Elon Musk, who had been a guiding force from the start, was growing increasingly focused on the vehicle's mass production. There were whispers around the office about whether the car could be scaled fast enough to meet the rising demand for clean energy solutions. Michael, ever the perfectionist, found himself at odds with the growing corporate pressure to cut corners. He wanted the vehicle to be flawless, to live up to the legacy he was trying to build. But with each passing day, the tension between maintaining quality and meeting the rapid demands of investors became more palpable. One late evening, as Michael sat alone in his office, reviewing the latest prototype data, Elon stepped into the room, his expression unusually serious. "Michael," Elon began, his voice low, "I need to talk to you about something important." Michael looked up from his screen, his brow furrowed. "What's going on?" "I've been hearing some concerns from investors," Elon continued, his hands clasped in front of him. "They're worried that we're falling behind on production. They want to see results, and fast. We're talking about scaling up faster than we originally planned." Michael's stomach twisted. He had feared this moment. "You want to rush it?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Elon's gaze hardened. "Not rush, Michael, but we need to accelerate the process. We can't afford to fall behind the competition. This vehicle is supposed to change the world, but it can't do that if we don't get it to market sooner." Michael leaned back in his chair, the weight of the decision pressing on him. "I understand the urgency, but I don't want to compromise on the quality. This project means too much to me, and to the people who are depending on it." Elon sighed, rubbing his forehead. "I know, and I respect that. But we need to meet market demand. The world is waiting for this technology, Michael. We can't afford to be overly cautious." The conversation left Michael with a deep unease. He knew that scaling up was necessary, but he also understood the risks. A rushed product could compromise the very integrity of everything he had worked for. And yet, he couldn't help but feel the pressure of the investors' expectations, the eyes of the world on Tesla's every move. The next few days were filled with long meetings, heated debates, and countless phone calls. The team worked tirelessly to meet the demands for speed, but Michael couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading down a dangerous path. He had always been driven by the need to prove something, to honor his family's memory. But now, with the stakes higher than ever, Michael began to question if the rush to deliver was worth the potential consequences. Would the vehicle still live up to the dream he had envisioned? Would it truly be a legacy worthy of his family? As production ramped up, the first cracks began to show. The design team had made compromises on certain components in an effort to meet the timeline, and the results were less than ideal. Initial testing revealed issues with the vehicle's battery system, an overheating problem that hadn't been accounted for in the original design. It was a setback that could delay the project by months, but the pressure from investors to maintain the schedule was relentless. Michael spent sleepless nights in the lab, poring over every detail of the design, trying to understand where things had gone wrong. The strain of balancing his passion for perfection with the overwhelming pressure to meet deadlines weighed heavily on him. Every day, he felt the pressure of keeping his promise to Elon and to the people who had believed in him. One evening, as he was reviewing the final test results, His phone buzzed with a message from Elon. "We need to talk. Meet me in the conference room in 20 minutes." Michael's heart sank. He already knew what was coming. He'd seen the warning signs, and now the truth was unavoidable. He took a deep breath and walked to the conference room, trying to steady his nerves. When he arrived, Elon was already there, standing by the window, looking out over the city below. He turned as Michael entered, his expression unreadable. "Michael," Elon began, his voice tight. "I've seen the reports. There's an issue with the battery system. I've spoken with the board. We can't afford to let this delay us any longer." Michael's mind raced. He had worked tirelessly to ensure the system was foolproof, but the reality of the situation hit hard. "We can't push forward with a faulty system," Michael said firmly. "It's too risky. If we don't fix the issue now, it could affect the safety of the vehicle and the entire company's reputation." Elon stared at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "I agree. But we're running out of time. The world expects this vehicle. Our investors are demanding results." Michael could feel the weight of the moment, the crushing pressure. He had always prided himself on being someone who built things to last, who honored his family's legacy by creating something worthy of their memory. But now, with the clock ticking, he faced a choice that would define not just the project, but his entire future. "If we don't fix it now," Michael said quietly, "we're risking everything, and I can't be a part of that." Elon met his gaze, his expression hardening. "I don't want to hear that, Michael. We can't afford to miss this opportunity. I need you to push the team harder." Michael's heart pounded in his chest. He knew what was at stake, but he couldn't bring himself to sacrifice the integrity of the project, not when it meant everything to him. "I'm sorry, Elon," Michael said, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "I can't do it, not this way." The confrontation with Elon was a turning point for Michael. He realized that no matter how high the stakes were, he couldn't allow the legacy of his family or the dream of a better future to be tainted by the need to rush and cut corners. The project was far too important, and he had too much riding on it to compromise. The days that followed were tense. Michael, having resigned from his role at Tesla, gathered his team and made plans to take the project in a new direction. With the support of a few loyal engineers, he began to rebuild the design, focusing on the flaws that had been ignored in the rush to scale up. The process was slow, but Michael knew it was the only way forward. It wasn't long before news of Michael's departure from Tesla reached the public. The media buzzed with speculation, and many believed that the pressure of the project had driven him to abandon the company. But for Michael, the truth was simple. He couldn't live with himself if he sacrificed the integrity of the project, no matter the cost. In the following months, Michael and his small team worked tirelessly to perfect the vehicle. They developed a new battery system that was more efficient, safer, and in line with the vision they had originally set out to achieve. The process was difficult, and the road ahead was uncertain. But for Michael, this was a fight worth taking on. As the final prototype neared completion, Michael stood before the team, feeling a sense of pride that he hadn't felt in years. He had made it. He had held on to his integrity, and in doing so, he had built something that was truly worthy of his family's legacy. And as the vehicle rolled off the assembly line for the first time, Michael knew that his dream had been realized, not just for him, but for the world. The road ahead was still uncertain, but now he could walk it with confidence. He had built something that would stand the test of time, and nothing, not even the pressures of the world, could take that away. The release of the vehicle was nothing short of a revolution. When the first units were finally ready for delivery, the world took notice. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen, a sleek, powerful electric car that promised to reshape the future of transportation. The new battery system that Michael's team had developed was a marvel of engineering, setting a new standard for clean energy vehicles. Every detail had been meticulously designed, and the vehicle was as close to perfection as Michael could make it. The moment of truth arrived when the first customer took delivery of their vehicle. The media buzzed with excitement, and soon the entire world was talking about it. The car's efficiency, its smooth design, and its groundbreaking technology made it an instant success. But for Michael, it wasn't just about the accolades or the praise. It was about the message that this vehicle sent. It wasn't just another product to be sold. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when integrity, passion, and persistence came together. The vehicle represented the culmination of years of hard work, sacrifice, and a deep commitment to his family's values. With every new order, Michael felt a sense of relief. This was his legacy, not just as a man in the tech industry, but as someone who believed in doing things the right way, even when it was hard. Even when it meant standing up to those who told him to cut corners or take shortcuts. As the months passed, Michael's reputation in the industry grew. He became a symbol of integrity in a world where speed and profit often took precedence over quality. But despite his newfound fame, he never lost sight of what mattered most to him. He continued to pour his energy into the project, ensuring that every vehicle produced met the high standards he had set. But Michael's journey wasn't just about the car. It was about the people who had been with him from the beginning, the team of engineers, designers, and dreamers who had believed in the vision even when things seemed impossible. Together, they had built something that no one could have predicted. Together, they had changed the world. One day, after a particularly long day of work, Michael sat in his office, staring out over the horizon. It had been a year since the release of the first vehicle, and he had witnessed his dream unfold in ways he never could have imagined. The world had embraced his vision, and in doing so, they had embraced his family's legacy. His phone buzzed with a message from his sister, Elena. It had been some time since they had last spoken in person, but they had kept in touch regularly. "I just saw the latest news about the vehicle. It's incredible. Mom would be so proud of you. We all are." A lump formed in Michael's throat as he read the message. He had always dreamed of making his family proud, especially his mother, whose unwavering belief in him had been his anchor through every struggle. She had always told him that no matter the challenges, he could make a difference. Now, he had proven her right. He sent a quick reply, his fingers trembling slightly. "I couldn't have done it without all of you." As he put down his phone, Michael's mind drifted to his parents, who had passed long ago. He felt their presence in every step of this journey. Their belief in him had been the fuel that kept him going when the road seemed impossible. He realized now that their legacy lived on, not just in the company he had built, but in the values he had carried with him. The vehicle wasn't just a triumph of engineering. It was a tribute to the ideals they had instilled in him. The belief that success didn't come at the cost of integrity, that greatness wasn't about rushing to the top, but about building something that would last. In the months that followed, the company grew at an exponential rate. Investors were no longer questioning the product. They were clamoring for more. But Michael never wavered in his commitment to the vision that had driven him from the very beginning. He ensured that every decision, every move, was made with care and respect for the legacy he was creating. As he looked at the company's new offices, the production lines buzzing with activity, and the countless people whose lives were being impacted by the vehicle, Michael realized that this was only the beginning. The success of the car was only a small part of the bigger picture. The real legacy, the one that would live on for generations, was the message it sent to the world. It was a message of resilience, a reminder that no matter the obstacles, no matter how many times the world tried to push you to compromise, you could stand firm and do what was right. It was a reminder that the true measure of success wasn't just about making money or winning battles. It was about making a difference. The phone rang again, pulling Michael out of his thoughts. It was Elon. He had been one of the first to reach out after the vehicle's success had gone public. "Michael, I've been meaning to call," Elon said, his voice filled with a rare warmth. "I just wanted to congratulate you. You've done it. You've really done it." Michael smiled, a quiet sense of pride swelling within him. "Thanks, Elon. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it." Elon paused for a moment before continuing. "I've learned something from watching you, Michael. Sometimes we get so caught up in the rush to succeed that we forget what really matters. You've shown me that it's not just about getting to the finish line. It's about how you get there." Michael felt a flicker of gratitude. "I appreciate that. I think it's something we both needed to learn." As they hung up, Michael reflected on the journey, The hard decisions, the sacrifices, the moments of doubt, it had all led him here. The road was never easy, but it had been his to navigate. And in the end, he had built something that would change the world. The legacy of the vehicle wasn't just about the technology. It was about what it stood for, a commitment to doing things the right way, a tribute to the power of perseverance and vision. As Michael stood in the center of his company's headquarters, watching the world embrace the future he had helped create, he knew that his work was far from over. There was still so much more to do, so many more obstacles to overcome, and so many more lives to impact. But for the first time in a long while, he felt at peace. His legacy was no longer just a dream, it was a reality. And it would continue to grow, evolve, and inspire long after he was gone. Michael had truly changed the world, and he had done it on his own terms. Years passed, and the world continued to evolve. The company Michael had built became a cornerstone of the future, a symbol of what could be achieved when technology, integrity, and vision collided. The electric vehicle revolution he had pioneered spread across continents, reshaping the way people thought about transportation, the environment, and what was possible in the world of innovation. As Michael stood at the edge of his company's sprawling campus, watching the sun dip below the horizon, he couldn't help but feel a sense of fulfillment. The road had been long, filled with obstacles and hard choices, but it had been a road worth traveling. In the end, he had proved that success wasn't just about achieving greatness. It was about doing so while staying true to who you were. His mother's words echoed in his mind, "Do what's right, Michael, and the rest will follow." And that was the true legacy Michael left behind. Not the cars, not the accolades, but the belief that success could be built on a foundation of integrity, compassion, and perseverance. As he walked away from the campus that evening, his thoughts turned to the future. The road ahead was still long, and there was much more to accomplish. But for the first time, Michael didn't feel the weight of the world on his shoulders. He knew that he had created something that would endure, something that would continue to change lives long after he was gone. In the distance, a new generation of engineers and dreamers was already preparing for their own journey, ready to carry the torch Michael had lit. And as he looked up at the sky, Michael smiled. The world had changed, but it was only just beginning. The road was still ahead, and with it, endless possibilities. Thank you for taking the time to watch this story until the very end. We've just witnessed an incredible journey of a person, from deep loss to finding hope again and rebuilding their life. Not only changing themselves, but also creating miracles for the world. If you found this story inspiring and meaningful, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. Feel free to share this story with your friends and family so we can spread these positive and hopeful messages together. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Disclaimer: the following story is a work of fiction, and any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. The events, characters, and locations are entirely created for the purpose of entertainment and inspiration. Any views or opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of any real individuals or entities.